Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Ethereum. We're going to be discussing whether this move to the upside is actually going to reject or whether this could continue on and look for a bigger trending structure to the upside. So let's get into the price action and see what's going on. So this is one thing we were talking about yesterday. We're looking for that possibility of that we could be formed a flat share. We're looking for this 1800 area to be our zone of a target, looking for an additional ABC pattern to the downside here, which came into this 0.618 area. So this is played out all right. Now what we need to see is whether this is actually continuing here, and we're going to see something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It is possible that we could get a truncation here, so we need to just be on the lookout for that. Alternatively, there's a couple of ways of counting this five-way move, so we'll go over that. We're just going to clear up this chart for a second, get rid of all the internals that we don't need here, just so that it's a bit neater. Okay, so let's get rid of some of these as well. So we came down into this 1800 area, and now we're looking for this possibility of this C wave to play out to the upside. So the target zone is between this 1906 to this 1867. Within the internals here, we can argue a couple of ways of counting this currently. We could look at this as an entire move, 1, 2. This could become another 1, 2, and then we could get a bigger extension up here, in which case this flat correction would not be in play. The other way we can look at this is that potentially this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's no overlap between these, so that is fine. So this could actually mean this is completed into this high here, or alternatively, this could be 1, 2. This is all third, fourth, and a fifth wave. So we'll go over that. That is my most, I think that's the most likely option in this case. The target area for this would be looking for this 1900 to this 1890 sort of area for a continuation up. And then from there, we'd have to see. What we want to see is if this is a flat correction like this. Basically, once this five-wave move completes, what we want to see is a breakdown and a taking of this low again, which is sitting here at this 1801.66. So if that plays out, then we have confirmation of a flat correction here. What we need to be a little bit cautious of is the fact that if this is not a flat correction, it could mean that we have actually completed into this low as a diagonal pattern, where this basically becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we have a completed diagonal down into this low point, in which case this would mean that we have a completed move to the downside. In which, if that's the case, what I'd be looking for is the potential to actually come back up here towards this 2061 to this 1960 area. So this could then become an A wave, we get a B wave, and then a C wave, something like this, as a bigger ABC pattern here. Or alternatively, this could become 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 if it does look to progress up high enough. So this is where we need to be a little bit careful with the count. What I want to see is whether we continue to find support above this low. If we do, then we can potentially argue that this count is actually what's played out and we've completed into this low of this 1801. So if this is the case, like I said, this could then mean that we potentially looking to break to the upside now. And we'd have to monitor that because there is still that bullish potential, and we'll go over that in a second. But there is still bullish potential here. So if we start to form five-way structure up, it could actually look to continue up and, form a bigger move, looking to even take this high. If we take this high point here of this 22,142, what this would then mean is that this move is not a five-way structure here. It would have to be a corrective move, and we discussed this in the previous video, where we can potentially subdivide this in the middle here and then have something like this to the downside, in which case we just have a three-wave move here, and then this could potentially look to continue to the upside in a bigger five-wave structure. So what would this look like if it's completed into this low here? So if we are completed into the low, what we'd be looking for would be the potential of a breakout. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this. We can potentially argue that this is completed into this high here, like I said, or alternatively, what we could have is a potential move up higher towards this 1900 area to this 1890 zone. So because of the way that the internals are in the beginning here, we just need to be careful of extension. Like I said, we can argue that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's completed. Or alternatively, this becomes 1 and 2. Then we have this as a third, this is a fourth, and then this is a fifth wave to the upside. If this is the case, what this would then mean is that our wave one would be slightly higher up here. And what we would then be looking for is basically a wave two retracement from that point in three waves, A, B, C, looking for this lower target here. If we do get a push up into this zone, what I'd be looking for is this 1847 to this 1821 to hold, and then look for that continuation to the upside in a bigger move here towards this zone of, depending on how low we come here. So let's adjust this high into there, into the 618. We could see a third wave, which would look to take us up towards this 1991. Alternatively, this could also just become an A wave, this could become a B wave, and we get a C wave, in which case our target would be this 1-to-1 area at this 1930. This would be, the 1-to-1 of this move to the upside if we do get a retracement down here. So we always have to be careful of the potential of extensions. And like I said, possibly we can argue that there's 1-2, 1-2 here, in which case, what we could possibly see if it does look to extend to the upside, but what I would want to see is a direct push up to this 1949 area, is we could have this as basically a 1-2, 1-2. This would become a third wave, get an additional fourth wave to this 1914 area, and then a continuation to the upside. So this is always possible. It's obviously, it's not nothing's proven itself within that count though. So what I'm looking out for is whether we get an additional push up here for this fifth wave potentially into this zone, um, which would look to take us into this 1900 area. As long as we stay above this 1850, this could still be a fourth wave. I don't want to see it get too much bigger though, because it's already sort of getting towards the limits that I want to see with this as a wave two. I'd want to just see this, continue up into this zone and then look for that bigger retracement here. So the key thing is, if we want to look for continuation, bullish continuation, we need to hold this 1801.66. If we fail to hold this zone, this could be, like I said, a bigger flat correction, in which case that we might still have a fifth wave drop to the downside, and that could mean that actually, what this structure is then is a flat, and we're going to see a fifth wave to the downside. So the target for that, if that does play out, would be actually coming down lower one more time. And what we'd be looking for then is potentially coming down into the zone of this 1783 to the 1754. Ideally, though, if this is a flat correction, I'd like to see it take this high. Um, that would be my ideal situation, is basically taking this A wave high. We can get running flats, which the A wave is not crossed, but they're less common than the expanding flats. So what I want to be on the lookout for here is if we do look to push up a little bit higher, possibly that would look to tie in with that flat idea. If, however, we find support and break up in a bigger way here, that would invalidate that possibility of that flat correction. But yeah, so if we do actually have a continuation down here, and this is still a fourth wave, I would still be expecting a final drop towards the zone of the 1783 to this 1754, provided that there is not further extension. And we discussed this in the previous video, which I think has confused a few people, but this 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 bigger breakdown idea is, it's just something I'm monitoring for. As long as we fail to take this high of this 1890 area, technically speaking, it's still possible we could see a bigger drop here, even with taking this high. Until we actually break back above 1923, we could still see something like this where we have an additional structure here as a 1-2 as a flat, then we get a bigger drop to the downside. So that's what we got to keep an eye on here. If we do get a bigger drop past the 1735 range, then a direct breakdown from this, it becomes likely that we're seeing some further extension in here. Even if it's not exactly as I have it in here, it would mean that somewhere within here we have some extension, and it would probably mean that this move into here was just a 1-2, and then, like I said before, possibly another 1-2 here, and then we look to break down into some of these lower lows, and continue and break down deeper. So this is the tricky thing when it comes to structures that can potentially extend. We need to just give it a bit of time and see how they react. But primarily, what I'm looking for is to see whether we have a single drop down towards the 1783 to the 1754, whether this low holds here of this 1801. If the 1801 holds, then we can look for potential continuation to the upside. If we fail to hold that key support zone that we indicated here by the by this lower green box area, this 1847 to this 1821. So if this 1821 starts to break, it becomes more likely we're going to see continuation down. If we hold above this, then we could see either a single move to the upside towards this 1-to-1, or alternatively a bigger structure developing here as a bigger 5-wave move. So we'll have to just give this one a bit of time. Like I said, there is potential for extension as a 1-2-1-2, but we'd have to get back above 1949 for that to be confirmed, and maintaining basically this low here of this 1829 for that potential. Otherwise, I'm just looking for this simple structure here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looking for a 3-wave move down, and then looking for that continuation to the upside here. If it is a flat, like we said before, the potential zones we're looking for that rejection could be 1891 would be a 1.382, and then if it does push up to that 1618, that would be here towards the zone of this 1906. So I'm keeping an eye on that level. We have technically come up high enough that it could be completed, so we just need to watch this. Watch the move to the downside. If it finds support, we can potentially look to continue. If it fails to hold that 786 area, likely we're going to see those lower lows come in here, or at least locally, for that 5th wave. The reason we're looking for that potential of a breakout here as well is because of the fact that we are still holding that bullish support that we talked about in the previous video. So that's looking at this move from further back here, looking at the possibility that we have something rather like this as a expanding diagonal, where this becomes a bait 1 or a wave, and then we're looking for a bit C or a 3-wave move, 3rd wave to the upside. So the 1-to-1 would take us to this 2,347. 1.618 would be up here towards this 2,720 area. So this is still valid for as long as we hold this 1686 and this 1770 area. What I want to be talking about here is basically, if I come back down here into the 1 hourly, we're talking about that possibility of having a C wave to the downside here. We're also saying this could be a WX and a Y. And what we could then see is, if this is a diagonal pattern here, technically speaking, this C wave could be completed here, and it's just a short one. Or alternatively, this B wave could still be in play, and we have a flat correction here as a B, and we could still be looking for this C wave down. So that could still look to bring us towards this 1739. The key difference here is that we'd be looking at this rather in a corrective structure, where this is a W and X, and then we're looking at this whole move as a Y wave, where this is A, B, and then C to the downside, which would be looking for this lower range. The 1-to-1 of that W wave is here at the 1780. So this also ties in quite nicely with the idea of that 786 retracement at the 1770. But we have to see here, because it could potentially be completed already. If that is the case, and this is actually an A, B, and a C completed into this low here, what this could mean is that we're actually looking to start a move to the upside as a bigger 3rd wave, or like I said, a C wave, if it only comes towards this zone of this 2,347. So with that in mind, we need to just be cautious. If this is a 3rd wave, like I said before, we could potentially look for extension up if we start to break directly up towards this 1949. And if this is the case, what we could be seeing is that either this is a wave 1, 2, and then we see a bigger 3, 4, and a 5, and then we find support again. And that would then become potentially the wave 1 of a bigger 3rd wave move, or a wave 1 of a bigger 5-wave structure here. Which could then lead to push us up towards some of these higher targets. So that's why I'm just being a little bit cautious about treating this as a flat, particularly with it not taking that high. But we'll have to see. If it's a flat correction, basically what we want to see is this move take this low again, and then we'll be looking out for some of these lower targets, either that 5th wave target or potentially this 1780, 1770, and if it does look to push down deeper, 1739. If this is the case, the key difference between these two options is that if this one is in play and this is a corrective structure to the downside, we want to see this come back and take these highs. If we see this move play out to the downside like this, we get a B wave up and we face rejection again. What this would then indicate is that, this is actually the way we counted it as a 5-wave structure, and we're going to be looking for that zigzag for a lower price to come in here and basically push us back down, possibly towards this trend line, which is sitting here towards this area of this 1542 area. So that'll be somewhere that we are looking at as a potential target if we do look to break down in a deeper way. But I would be expecting some kind of a bigger move to the upside before that plays out. So we'll have to see here whether this is an A wave, B wave, C wave, and then we get a rejection down, or whether we actually look to, continue up, or whether this actually just forms a three-wave structure here. We break this low and look for these lower targets, and then look to potentially move up from that point. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. As well as that, you'll find affiliate links for both Primex BT and BYBIT down there. Both great exchanges we use on a regular basis. If you don't have an account, using the affiliate link does help support the channel, and we do appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.